are the odds that suddenly you wake up and you cannot read, write, or add 2 plus 2? What are the odds that after a short 2-hour surgery, you don't even remember what year you were born? My name is Nathalie Jacob, and I am the author of the book 8 Rediscovering Life After a Brain Tumor. And this is the closest thing I found in my house to a TEDx red rug. I hope you guys like it. It's a speaker, actually. So I was born in Bogota, Colombia, to a very international family. My father is French, and all that side of my family is French. And my mom is American, and all that side of my family is American. So because I was born in such an international household, I've always actually wanted to build an international life for myself. So as soon as I hit 16, I left my house and I went to live to Paris, and I did my high school over there. And after that, I come back to Colombia where I studied business. And I realized that the best shot I would have to have an international lifestyle was working for multinationals or Fortune 500 companies. So I dedicated my life to my passion, which I discovered that was marketing. And I worked around several countries and several cities. So I worked in Madrid, I worked in Puerto Rico, I worked in Miami. I'm actually now living in Westport in Connecticut in the USA. But I dedicated my life to working for companies like Frito-Lay, Nokia, L'Oreal, Johnson & Johnson, and Diageo are some of the ones I did. And as you can see, everything that I talk about my life in the past was basically work. My passion in life was to work, my family, and sailing. I've been actually on a sailboat since I'm 4 years old, and I've won several national championships. But that was what made me me and what made me happy in the past. And then one day in the year 2015, I went skiing with some work colleagues to Canada, in Whistler. And it was the first day of skiing. I was full of energy for the ones that ski. My muscles weren't hurting. I was, hyped up, and I was going down the slopes, and I fall really, really hard, to the point that I break my goggles and my finger went completely black. So it was my first day of vacations, and I didn't really want to ruin my trip. So I just went down the slope, bought a popsicle, and I just taped the popsicle stick to my fingers and continued my week of ski. When I went back to Miami, which is the place where at the moment I was living, I did take an appointment with a doctor just to check my finger, actually. And I told him about the fall, and he decided to take a CT scan of my brain as well, just in case. And so he said, you have something called a coincidental finding, which is just by coincidence. Nothing happened with the ski fall, but you do need to take an appointment with a neurosurgeon. So I took an appointment with a surgeon, and I went with my husband at that time. And he actually had a computer screen with a picture of the MRI of my brain, which was exactly what I have up here on screen right now. And he said, you have an intraventricular meningioma the size of a lime. But I mean, intraventricular meningioma, what does that even mean? I really didn't get worried at all because I didn't know what those words meant whatsoever. And he did say, you do have a 2% chance of losing your peripheral eyesight. But other than that, there's no other risks. And the recovery week is 3 weeks. The recovery period is 3 weeks. And I honestly thought, oh my gosh, I worked so much all my life. I'm going to get 3 weeks to watch Netflix? Awesome. So I was really not worried at all whatsoever. To the point that the night before the surgery, with my husband, we were even making jokes. So they put you this little things on your head to know where they're going to go in for the incision for the brain surgery. And my husband was looking up his home oh my God, you remind me so much of an ad from the 80s. And he Googles an image and voila, that's what he showed me. So we were really honestly just having a blast and not really understanding the gravity of the situation. So I go into surgery, and it was indeed a very short surgery of only 2 hours. And after that, I wake up and I cannot read, and I cannot write, and I cannot add 2 plus 2. And they give me a pencil and a paper, and they asked me to write my name, and I still knew that my name was Nathalie Jacob. And I draw a circle, and I find this hilarious. I cannot stop laughing. I mean, here I am. At that moment, I was 35 years old, a 35-year-old woman with an MBA from IE Business School, and working for, with a successful career, working for multinationals, and I don't even know how to write my name. And so they make me walk the corridors of the hospital because, the brain doesn't only manage, your smartness, but it manages the whole body. So they make me walk the corridors of the hospital, and they ask me, so what number do you see in that door? I'm like, 8. And so they make me walk to the next one, and they ask me, what number do you see in that door? I'm like, 8. I saw everything as an 8, and that's why the title of the book is called 8, Rediscovering Life After a Brain Tumor. So after 2 weeks in the hospital, I honestly was having a blast. My family was shocked. The doctor was shocked. But I found everything funny and fun because I knew this wasn't going to be like forever. I thought it was going to be temporary. So I was really not stressed at all. And something quite spectacular happened. My brain became so simple that I had the brain of a 2 or a 3-year-old. And the simplicity of life was just gorgeous to enjoy. Like after those 2 weeks in the hospital, I went back home, and by coincidence, my office was actually a block away from my house. So all my work colleagues would come and visit me, and I couldn't even have a conversation with them because having a conversation was too advanced for what my brain was at the moment. They couldn't just follow. So the only thing I would enjoy was coloring. So I would coloring books, and I would have all my adult friends come and visit me and, try to talk to me. And I would be like, hi. And I would go back to coloring, and it was beautiful. And my husband would take me on walks outside near around the neighborhood. And obviously I would have to walk with him because I woke up partially blind. So I couldn't, I wouldn't know how to walk. I would fall down, a stair. I would hit myself against doors. I mean, it was a mess. But then I would walk the streets and I would hear a bird chirp, and I would like, birdie, birdie. I mean, a 35-year-old enjoying the beauty of nature was honestly just purely spectacular. So it was a really happy moment in my life. But life isn't all roses, honestly, unfortunately. And after some time, I started to become a little bit less dumb or a little bit more smart. And I started to realize actually the severity of what I was actually living. And so 3 months afterwards, I lost my job. And that was basically the first hit I had. I lost my job due to a brain tumor. Like who would even think that would be a possibility in someone's life? And it was really hard because on top of that, actually, when I was working at Diageo, I was actually my husband's boss or dotted line manager. And so what that implied was that we lost 60% of our household income. So that was really difficult for our family. But on top of that, the toughest part of this is that I actually lost my IQ. So when I explained to you guys at the beginning that what made me was, being a nerd and being a workaholic and being smart, that loss of IQ was losing myself completely. And when I mean that I lost my IQ, I'm not just, saying it for saying it. I actually have the numbers. By coincidence, 6 months before my surgery, I had an IQ test because I was in an interview process for Sam Miller. And they flew me from Miami to Chicago to do a whole day IQ test. And I did it. And I have the results, and I was above average. And after my surgery, for medical reasons, they actually give you IQ tests paid by the medical insurance. So I had one 6 months after my surgery, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and I actually had one not long ago again. And my IQ stagnated at below average, like below average. So I literally passed from being an above IQ person to a below average. And that was so hard for me because it was never about, I don't know, my looks. It was always only about my smartness or my capability to maintain myself, my capability to have a successful career, my capability to live around the world. And I lost all that. And that wasn't easy. And on top of that, remember the 2% probability chance of losing my peripheral eyesight. I nailed it. I won the lottery, and I am partially blind now, and I'll be partially blind for the rest of my life. So just to explain to you guys what it is, I basically, if I would have you in front of me, I would only see half of your face. So when I look at a computer screen, I only see half of the computer screen. I don't see anything from here to here with my both eyes. It took me some years to get used to it. At the beginning, it was a complete mess. I would fall. I couldn't use a knife for the risk of cutting a finger. But nowadays, honestly, I learned how to manage it. But the biggest disability that I have is that I suffer something called brain fatigue. And it's very difficult to explain to you guys what that is, but it's, after a whole day's work, or after, a whole day of classes at IE, you get home at 6 or 7 p.m. and you're just tired. Imagine that tiredness kicking in at any moment, at any day, for whatever reason. It could be at 10 a.m., it could be at 11 a.m. And it's just because my brain, because it was injured after that brain surgery that I had, it's basically a brain that take a lot of effort to just work at a decent rate. So it's just all the time overworking. And due to that, I just get really brain fatigued. So it's basically for that reason that I am officially disabled here in the USA. And I can't maintain a full-time job, 8 hours per day, 5 days per week. And that was honestly really, really difficult. But after doing a lot of cognitive therapy, because I had to learn how to read and write again, right? I started to write what I was going through in life. And I just opened my computer, and because the muscle memory actually of like typing in a keyboard was still there, I just started to write. And by writing, I was forced to read. And by reading, I was actually forced to remember, because I also suffered of a short-term memory. So I decided to start to do this. And in the process, I discovered that I was pregnant and I was going to be a mom. And then I realized my daughter is actually never going to know who I was before my surgery, because I don't even know who I'm going to be in the future, because the Nathalie that was there before is clearly no longer here and will never be here anymore. So I decided to change those writings into a book. And I published the book for my daughter, for her to basically know who mommy was before her brain surgery. And it's been honestly really spectacular, because I definitely decided that I did not want to make any money from a book because of brain tumor. So I donate 100% of the profits to brain tumor foundations. And even after going through all this journey and being a mom, which made me absolutely, ecstatic and honestly, Mother Nature's spectacular when you become a mother. I can't even understand why it's so strong, the maternal feeling you get. But even with that, I was very sad, because I felt purposeless. Who was I if I couldn't do all the passions that make me happy? I couldn't sail, I couldn't work, I couldn't travel anymore. You feel purposeless, and it's not, where do you find a new purpose? You can't just go out and buy purpose in a supermarket. And I didn't even know how to even start that journey to find a new purpose. So I literally, honestly, without knowing, I just started to volunteer here in Connecticut, where I live, in the Connecticut Brain Tumor Association, the Connecticut Brain Tumor Alliance, and in its foundation to read for children in need. And through doing that, I discovered that my passion was actually helping others. And even nowadays, even if for some magic trick in the world, my IQ and my brain would come back to me, I don't want to go back to that life. I just want to dedicate my life to helping others. So how do I translate that into my life nowadays? Knowing that I don't have that much energy, I decided to create community. And I created 3 Facebook groups, which between them, they have over 1,000, over 2,000 people, actually. The first one's called Tumor Cerebrales, which is a group for brain tumor survivors in Spain and Latin America. Another one's called Westport Stay-at-Home Moms, and this is my favorite group of all, because it's a group where moms get together, we make friends, the husbands make friends among them, and the kids make friends. And we're now a huge community of over 500 moms that get together all the time. And it's pretty spectacular. Not with COVID-19, no, we can't, but we will back soon when we can. And the last group is it's a group called Westport Women. And it's a group that I created for women that have businesses run from their homes, for them to be able to do promotion for free online with their targeted market. And never in my wildest dreams, honestly, did I ever expect that my book would receive so much attention from media. It's honestly just been magical. I would have never imagined. I didn't even know how to read and write. And now I wrote a book and it's all over the news. It's magical. I never expected it. So I just wanted to end by sharing with you guys a quote that is actually from my book, And I read a bit slow, so bear with me, but I'll try to read as quick as my eyes permit me. Reinvent yourself. Having the mental flexibility to reinvent yourself, your goals, and what brings you joy and meaning in life will be the strength you need to continue building your life path without breaking you when things get in the way. Don't just hope for a better moment, create it, work for it, and make it happen. Life doesn't happen to you, you make it happen. And that's all. Thank you so much.